Hello everybody, and today we're going to start factoring trinomials using PS2 method. And no, that does not stand for PlayStation 2, it stands for the process in which we will be factoring. So here we go. Alright, so how PS2 works, okay? So what we're going to do, okay, we have to talk about PS and 2. So now the P of the PS2 stands for the product. And again, as most of us now know, product means multiplication. And we find the product right here. It's typically the constant, including its sign. So my product is positive 3. Okay. Now, the next part is the S component. And that stands for sum or subtract, depending on what we're dealing with here. Okay. Now that is going to be right here. It's going to be the S. So it's positive 4. Okay, now for the hardest part of the process, the 2. Okay. Now, what the 2 does, it's the two numbers that make the P and S true. Okay, now what that means in English, okay, is you need two numbers that multiply to give you 3, but those same two numbers have to add in this case to give me 4. Okay, so we think about it, well, what two numbers multiply to 3 but add to 4? Well, 3 and 1 do the trick. Okay. Now, for the last part, we need to worry about the signs. I need positive 4 when I add these two numbers together, the 3 and 1. So what would the signs have to be to give me a positive 4? Will have to be both positive, right? Now, the nice thing about the PS2 is it does have a nifty little check in it. Okay. So here we go. Here's to do the check. So 3 times 1, does that give me a positive 3? The answer is yes. 3 plus 1, will that give me a positive 4? The answer is also yes. If you say yes to both questions, you've got what you need. So you're ready to finish this off. If you say no to any one of those two questions, that means something's not right and you need to go back and fix it. So now that we have everything set, we're going to put them in our parentheses. So since I started with x squared, we're going to go to x and x. Okay, and then we just drag these in here. So the positive 3 goes here. The positive 1 goes here. And that's all she wrote. And there is that. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. Okay, so I've got 3 pieces. Now one big thing is, with the PS2, you cannot have a number in front of the x squared, okay? If there is a number in front of the x squared, we have to go to another method, either by slide or factor by grouping, and I'll show you guys that in another video. Okay, so we're going to start here. So I got 3 pieces. There's no leader in front of my x squared, okay? Whoops. So that tells me I can use PS2. PS2. All right, so here we go. My product is positive 16. The sum is positive 10. Again, my product is right here. The sum is right here. So then we stop and think. Okay, what two numbers multiply to 16 but add to give me 10? Now, if you get stuck, thing to do, excuse me, is list off the multiples of the product in order. So what I mean is we start 1 and 16. Will those two numbers add to give me 10? The answer is no. All right, let's go to 2 and 8. Will those two numbers add to give me 10? And the answer is yes. So I found my two numbers. So let's go 2 and 8. Now it does not matter the order, so if you put the 8 first and the 2 second, you're perfectly fine. Okay. So now my signs. I need 2 and 8 to give me a positive 10. So how does that work? They both got to be plus. Now let's do our check real quick, make sure we're good. So 2 times 8, is that positive 16? Yes, it is. Is 2 plus 8 10? Positive 10? Yes, it is. So I'm all set. So let's put this in. We started with x squared, so I'm going to go to x and x. And then I just drag these guys in. So plus 2, plus 8, and there it is. All said and done. Okay, so now we're just going to start practicing this a little bit, show you different things. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so we're going to factor using PS2. All right, so first thing we do here, okay, I've got 3 pieces, no leader in front of the square, so I can use PS2. So PS2. All right, so my product, positive 18. My sum is positive 9. So, what 2 numbers multiply to 18 but add to give me a 9? Okay, so again, if you get stuck, list off your multiples. 1 and 18. Well, that's not 9, that's 19, so no. 2 and 9. Well, that adds to 11. That doesn't work. 3 and 6. Well, that works. That'll add to 9, so we go 3, 6. Now for my sign. Okay. Okay, so I'm at plus. I need both positive. Okay, so we're starting with x squared, so x and x. Plus 3, plus 6. There's that one. All right, now we got to be careful with this next one, folks. Okay. I've got 3 pieces. No leader in front of the square. So it is a PS2. So PS2. So we're going to have my product, positive 24. We're going to have the sum as negative 11. All right, 2 numbers that multiply to 24, but add to give me an 11. Not negative 11 right now, we just want the 11. So again, if you're not sure, multiples of the product, 1 and 24. That doesn't work. 2 and 12. Nope, that's 14. 3 and 8. That'll give me 11, so let's go 3 and 8. Now, here's the catch. Now, when I add these 2 numbers together, the 3 and the 8, I want negative 11. So 3 and 8 gives me positive 11. So if I do negative 3 and negative 8, that should give me negative 11. Now, let's do our double check. Let's be sure. Is negative 3 times negative 8 positive 24? The answer is yes. Is negative 3 plus negative 8 negative 11? Yes, it is. So we're good. X minus 3, x minus 8. And there's that one. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so let's keep going. Now again, we've got to be careful now. Things are getting a little more tricky, but again, nothing too crazy. Start off. It has 3 pieces. No number in front of the square or leaders. So again, we're good. So we can go to PS2. Now my product, positive 24. Sum, negative 10. So let's do what 2 numbers multiply to 24 and add to give me 10. Again, not negative 10. I'm not worried about that right now. Just 10. And most of us know that's going to be 6 and 4. Now, here's where we're going to be careful, though. I need now, when these 2 numbers get added together, I need negative 10. So if I do negative 6 and negative 4, that should work. So let's do our check. Negative 6 times negative 4 is positive 24. Negative 6 plus negative 4 is negative 10, so that's good. So we're going to have x minus 6, x minus 4. And there it is. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, so again, start off, do I have 3 terms? Yes, I do. Is there a leader in front of the square? No, there is not. So I can go right to PS2. So my product, positive 24. My sum, negative 14. So, two numbers that multiply to 24 but add to to 14, not negative 14, just 14, again, is going to be what? 12 and 2. Now again, if you did 2 and 12, it doesn't matter the order. Now for our signs. I want negative 14 when I put these two pieces together. So signs is going to be negative 12 and negative 2. All right, so let's do our double check, make sure we're good. So negative 12 times negative 2 is positive 24. Negative 12 plus negative 2 is negative 14, so we know we're good there. So we're going to have x minus 12, x minus 2. And there it is. All right, moving onwards. All right, now we got to be very careful now here, and something has changed. Okay, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so again, our biggest thing that we're going to worry about is this right here. Okay, in all the other problems we faced thus far, we dealt with a plus here. But now it's going to be minus. But again, don't think anything's really going to majorly change here, because it's not. The process is going to remain pretty much the same, except when we're doing our two numbers. So let's begin. All right, so start. Do I have three pieces? Yes. Is there a leader in front of the square? No. So I'm good to use PS2. Okay, my product this time, a little bit different, but nothing too crazy, is negative 32. My sum in this case is negative 14. All right, so now we got to be careful. I need two numbers that multiply to 32, but subtract, not add this time, subtract to 14. So when we list off our multiples, we'll go 1 and 32. Well, that subtracts to 31. 2 and 16, well, that subtracts to 14. So 2 and 16. Okay, now another thing we have to be careful of is our signs. I want negative 14 here. Okay, so since my sum is negative, that means my larger piece had to be negative. So negative goes here. Now, if this is negative 16, how do I get to negative 14? Well, this has to be positive. All right, so now, anytime, my piece of advice is anytime your product is negative, you should definitely do your check. A lot of times students will get the right numbers, but get the signs backwards, and then it screws them all up. So here we go. Let's do our check. 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. 2 minus 16 is negative 14. So you know you're good. So let's do this up. So we're going to have x plus 2, x minus 16. Okay. Now with this next one, what I want to do is kind of demonstrate what would happen if you didn't do the PS2 correctly, if you got the signs backwards, which is a common mistake. Okay, so let's begin. Now again, you can follow my lead, but again, I'm going to warn you now, I'm going to do this one wrong on purpose to show you what happens. Okay, so let's start. I got three pieces. No leader in front. So again, I can use PS2. So this is the easy part. My product, negative 32. My sum, positive 4. Bella, can you go check on Nermal and find out what he's squawking about? All right, now, two numbers that multiply to 32 but subtract to 4. Most of you can figure out, oh, that's easy, G, that's 8 and 4. That's true. Now, like I said, I'm going to do this wrong on purpose. So this is what students will do. I'll make this a -8, and I'll make this a +4. And if you don't do the check, you're not going to catch the mistake. Because look here, here's what happens. Doing your check, -8 times 4 is indeed -32. So most students, again, go, I'm good. This has got to be right. But then they go, well, -8 plus 4, that's -4. I'm supposed to get +4 here. So that's wrong. So I need to go back and fix this. Okay. Now, typically what happens is, if you're going to screw this up, it's most likely a sign error. Like if you're getting the right number but the wrong sign, all you really have to do is flip the signs. So this should be +8 and -4. Okay? But if you're doing your sum and you're getting the completely wrong answers, something's probably not right with your numbers either. Start with your signs first. Make sure you're okay there. And if it's still not okay after you change the signs, then your numbers are wrong. You need to go back to the drawing board. Okay? So I'm going to do my check again. So 8 times -4 is -32. 8 minus 4 is +4, so we're good. So here we go. X plus 8, x minus 4. And there it is. Oh, forgot to circle that other one. All right. So again, now you see what happens when it's done wrong. So again, always do your check. It only takes 3 seconds to do, and it's going to save you a whole lot of points if you're doing it wrong. All right, let's move on. All right, so kind of a mix-up here. So let's, again, go through this. So let's start. I've got 3 pieces, leader in front of the, no leader in front of the square, sorry. So that means I can use PS2. All right, product, +40. Sum, +14. All right, hard part. What 2 numbers multiply to 40 but add to 14? And again, if you're not sure, list off your multiples. 1 and 40. Nope. 2 and 20. Nope. 3 doesn't work because 3 does not divide into 40. We got 4 and 10. That'll add to 14, so we're good there. So we can do 4 and 10. All right, now for my signs. I want +14. Okay, so 4 and 10, the only way you can get +14 is if they're both plus. So doing this out, let's double check. So 4 times 10 is +40. 4 plus 10 is 14, so we're good. So x plus 4, x plus, 10. There you go. So there's that one, pretty easy. All right, now here's where we got to be careful in this one. I see a lot of weird garbage with this one, so we got to be careful. So let's start. 3 pieces. Yep. Leader in front of the square. Nope. So I can use PS2. Product, -72. Sum. Now this is where students will tell me this. Gee, the sum's x. Nope. Again, we're not interested in the variable. We don't want the variable. We're interested in the number. So what number's hiding in front of this x that I can't see is a 1. Okay, so we have +1. That is your sum, not the x. We don't use the variables here. Okay, so what 2 numbers multiply to 72 but subtract to 1? If you're not sure, 1 and 72. That doesn't work. Oops, 72. Nope. Let's do 2 and 36. Nope. 3 and, let's see, that's going to be 24. That's a no. How about 4? Is it divisible by 4? 4 and 18. That's a no. Is it divisible by 5? Nope. 6 and 12 is 72, but that subtracts to 6, not 1. So we got to keep going. 7. No, it's not divisible by 7. 8. Well, 8 times 9 is 72. And 9 and 8 subtracts to 1. So I got my numbers. 8 and 9. Oops. Now, got to watch my signs. Okay, so since I was a subtraction, so that means my largest piece had to be positive. Now to get, if this is positive 9 and I want positive 1, this is going to be negative 8. Okay, so let's do our check. Negative 8 times 9 is negative 72. Negative 8 plus 9 is positive 1. So we're good. So we're going to have x minus 8, x plus 9. There it is. Piece of cake. All right, now, one of the big things that is commonly forgotten with factoring is the fact that you should always be looking for GCF first, okay? Can't forget about this, okay? Especially when it comes to larger factoring like PS2, because it may be the difference between you doing just a simple PS2 or doing a more complicated function, okay? So for this first one, let's start with greatest common factor. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, kick out the 2, because all the pieces are divisible by 2. X squared minus 2x minus 3. Now, at this point, okay, this 2 out here, this GCF, we're going to kind of put it in a balloon, and we're going to make it float away for a while, because they all float down here. Okay, we're going to ignore this right now. Our thing to look for is now right here. Okay, so if I'm looking at this right here, okay, so I say, well, now I've got 3 pieces with no leader in front of the x squared. Yes, remember, yeah, I know the 2's out there, but again, that doesn't count. We separated that. Okay, so now we're going to do our PS2. Product, sum, 2 numbers. Okay, so we go. My product, negative 3. Sum, negative 2. All right, so what 2 numbers multiply to 3 but subtract to 2? And I hear common all the time, gee, it can't be done. A lot of times students will always forget the easiest one of them all. What times what gives me 3? Well, listing off your multiples, it's 1 and 3. And does 1 and 3 subtract to 2? Yes, it does. So again, 1, 3. Now I need these things to subtract to give me a negative 2. Now since my subtract result was negative, that means the largest piece is negative. And then this guy's got to be positive. But you should always do your check. So 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Okay, so we know we're good. Now here's what we're going to do. This 2 that was kind of floating on around here, it now comes back. It parks itself in front of the parentheses. Then we just do what we've been doing this whole video. So we're going to make x and x. I'm going to drag this plus 1 in here, this minus 3 here. And there it is. Okay, pretty simple. All right, now this next one. Very, very, very important thing is when we're doing GCF, you cannot have your lead piece be negative, okay? It makes life a lot harder than it has to be, okay? So what we're going to do here is we are going to take out GCF and I'm going to include the negative, okay? So looking at all my pieces here, I'm going to kick out negative 3, okay? So by doing so, I'm going to have x squared. Now, 60 divided by negative 3 is going to be negative 20x. And negative 108 divided by negative 3 is going to be positive. Now, 108 divided by 3. Might have to do a little math here. 108 divided by 3. Again, I don't have my calculator with me right now, so it's going to be a 3. It's going to be a 9. So 1, 8. So it's a 6. So 36. I should have known that. Again, that's what happens when you've done like 40 of these videos in a day. You start forgetting your factors here. Now, as I said, we're going to put this in a balloon, a big red balloon, and it's going to float away. They're all going to float down here. So we're going to float it away for a little while. We're going to focus solely here. Okay, I've got 3 pieces. I've got no leader in front of my x squared. So this is PS2. PS2. Okay, so my product plus 36. My sum is negative 20. So, what two numbers multiply to 36 but add to 20? And again, if you list off your multiples, it's going to be 2, 18. Now, we want negative 20 from these two numbers. So again, 2 and 18, how would I get it to add? Well, the signs have to be the same, so it'd be negative 2 and negative 18. So let's do our check. Okay, so negative 2 times negative 18 is positive 36. Negative 2 minus 18 is negative 20. So you good? So here we go. The negative 3 that we had floating away, it's going to come back. So park it right in front. Then we're going to have x minus 2. X minus 18. There you have it. Okay. Now again, very important. Remember, you cannot have a negative in front of your square. If you do, you have to factor the negative out. Whether it's a negative 1, a negative 3, a negative 20, you have to take the negative out in order to factor. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so that's it. So hopefully you learned a lot from this video. And again, I will see you in the next video. So have a good day, everyone.